Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. I'm your host, the amazing Super Chris. It is Monday, the 10th of August. We made it through the weekend. I made it through the weekend. I had a wonderful weekend. I hope you had a good weekend. We actually, I got to get out of the house, out of doors, driving. We went driving. It was like 4 or 5 hours. We was off doing things like out in public, far away from people. It was nice. It was good. I hope you had a great weekend. Today, I've got my co-host, my Monday co-host this morning, Oz from Tart. He'll be joining me in just a second. And Miss Lola Ray. She is an atheist, an activist, a TikTok, I want to say superstar. She'll probably blush at that. But we're going to have those wonderful people joining us in just a minute. We'll be right back. Are you feeling the world is leaving you behind? Do you look at all the pseudoscience, rumors, and wild speculation on the internet and wonder, why can't I do that? Well, friend, you can. We can help you. We are Conspirowin. You may be thinking, but my idea of the center of the earth being made of ice is far-fetched. In a world where people believe windmills cause cancer, we say no dream is too big. Listen to the voices no one else can hear. Team up with Conspirowin. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed that. Okay, I'm bringing on my co-host this morning, Oz from Tart. How you doing this morning, Oz?
I'm feeling good. Like I said, backstage, my Adderall just kicked in, so I'm raring to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm still installing Java, but beyond that, yeah, everything is going great. We've got a very interesting and special guest this morning,
yes, we
Miss
do.
Lola Ray. Let me bring on Miss Lola. How are you doing, Miss Lola?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Sorry about the Miss thing. It's a Texas thing. I forget myself sometimes. Hi, Lola.
Hi.
How are you doing? She is a TikTok superstar. I want to say TikTok atheist, activist. You are. I don't. As I've said on the show, I don't really watch TikTok or do TikTok, but I did yours, and I thought they were really cool. I'm gonna play some here in just a minute.
Oh, thanks.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, pretty good. Quiet, just how I like it.
Is it? Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
Now, before I play your little TikTok, I want to ask you a couple questions about. I'm sorry. I got to do this every day. Let me say hi to my folks. Good morning to the damnation in the chat. Good morning, everybody. Oh, Tetsuya Dex is here. Good morning, Ronan, Joan. Nice to have you with us. Casa Mufasa, the Blazing Wizard Pope. Tons of minds. All the cool people are here. Paul Cammish. It's nice to have you all. I hope Andy's here. Hope he saw his commercial. He wrote it. I kind of read it and edited. Jason. Nice to have you with us this morning. All you wonderful people, all the people who watch on Facebook. Ruh-roh. Did I do the thing? I did the thing. Wait, there I am. There they are. Anyway, I got it. See, I knew I was stuff there. Anyway, so good morning to all you wonderful people. And good morning to the people who watch on Facebook, the YouTube reviewer who has to go back every day and watch, and to the people listening live on our podcast, the Daily Atheist Morning Show. So good morning, everybody. Hello and welcome. And I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. So, I'm dying to do it. I set it up. If you guys don't mind, I want to run a couple of her TikToks real quick. I didn't know. I thought real quick. Just let me briefly kind of explain to you guys what I thought TikTok was. Okay, I thought TikTok was, hey, look at me, I'm doing something silly. That's it. That's all I thought it was. I did not think. It's ignorance. And I admitted that beforehand. I didn't know people actually produced videos and went through effort and I always just thought, anyway, that's what I thought. I stand corrected. Check this out. This is cool.
Oh my God. Jesus. Do you like it?
Sometimes you can choose to not be a dick. Yes. Thank you.
I can't take it off. I can't take it off. Like, take it off. I can't. Take it off. I can't take it off. Like, take it off. I can't.
That is incredible. I really enjoy those. Those are, you sent me several. Those were a couple of my favorites. Do you want to tell me how long have you been doing the TikTok? What got you into it? How long have you been doing it?
I started getting these ads on my Facebook feed about TikTok a while ago, and I had no idea what it was. And I don't know, I think I just started seeing a few videos online and decided to join it. I think I've been on there since December of 2018. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been there for about a year and a half now. I don't have that many followers for, it's about, I think I have like 6,500 followers, which on TikTok is really not a whole lot, but I'm thankful for every one of them.
Well, good. Yeah. That's, I don't know. The mystery of building followers on social media is something that completely escapes me. I've been doing this for a while. I've got 1,500 or something. I don't want to go there. I saw your 6,800. I was like, wow, look, she's got 6,800 standing tall, girl.
Yeah, I think I have maybe 50 on Facebook, and because I keep my friend circle pretty small there. But on TikTok, that's really not a lot. It really isn't. Yeah. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. So
yeah, what I've seen so far has been hilarious.
Pardon?
What was that? What was Austin?
I was just saying that's just further proof that TikTok just hates me.
Is that what it is? Do you TikTok?
Absolutely. I've been a little less time than her, but I'm at like 600.
Oh, really? Oh, I see. I didn't even know how to spell it. Last night I was building the show, and I don't know if depends on when you looked at the show. Was this to when the show title, whether it was Tick with a C and Talk with a C with a dash in between, or Tick Talk with a K? Because I was actually producing the show. I was fixing to send you guys the links, and I was like, is that really how it's spelled? And I went and looked, and I was like, son of a gun, it's not. It's 2 Ks, TikTok. One word, TikTok, 2 Ks. So I had to go back and rebuild everything. Anyway, so I am TikTok ignorant. And, your advice to me was get into it. And I thought, oh, well, okay. Actually, one of the reasons why I didn't watch your videos right when you sent them to me, the minute you sent them to me, I didn't watch them right then. I kind of waited, and was because I actually thought I had to have an account to watch them. And I was like, well, I'll make me an account and I'll watch them later. Wife's got TikTok. Maybe she can watch them or something, And then I finally said, well, let me go ahead and watch them. And I didn't have to make an account. I think the first one you sent me was a dead link or something. It says, file not available.
Oh.
That didn't help my misunderstanding of the circumstances. But I did click the second one, and it did play the second link. And I thought, man, that was fantastic. And again, I thought it was just people doing silly things. What I've seen. That's all I've seen is, walking by a TV and you see a TikTok and it's somebody dancing or falling down or something, a cat.
Yeah.
Yours, on the other hand,
oddly enough, those are the videos that get the most follows. Seriously, you get on there. You were talking about yoga pants. If you got on there and did your yoga pants thing, I swear you would get thousands and thousands.
Yeah, for those who aren't my viewers are probably familiar with my talk about joking about me making a yoga pant video channel. So I met Miss Lola Ray the other day on the TART channel, the Atheist Roundtable, during Mike called me, asked me to pop in, and I mentioned it during that, and that's kind of true, isn't it? It sure seems like those people doing something as simple as that sure do seem to get a lot more views and followers quicker than somebody like me who puts a whole bunch of production effort and work into it. But that's what you do. I noticed you put some production value and stop and actually think about what you're going to do and make the videos. And I thought that was pretty cool, especially that one with Jesus and the, that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I'll wait till near the end of the show and I'll play it again whenever we've got a bigger crowd so they can enjoy it too. Because that was a lot of fun. Now, I want to ask you, does it take a long time? Or you're limited on TikTok by time, right?
Yeah, you've got I think you could do less than anywhere from a couple of seconds to 1 minute. Okay. It used to be just 15 seconds, and then they opened it up to a minute sometime while I was there. But yeah, so you've got to, it's amazing how much work you got to put in really if you want to do a decent video. It's quite a bit of work. I've learned about lighting and shadows and, sound and stuff like that being on there. You
do all your own video recording and editing and all that stuff?
The app has editing software in it, so you can do some editing on there. Yeah. Does it?
How long does it usually take you?
Depends. I've spent hours on one video. One video actually put me in the hospital.
Really? Okay, you gotta tell
I'm trying to
tales
remember
here.
which one it was, but I ended up with like rhabdomyolysis or something. Like I just worked out my legs way too hard, and
Wow.
yeah, it was really bad. But yeah, I put a lot of effort into some of those videos, so but it's fun.
Now, not all of your stuff is atheism. My understanding is you're an activist. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your activism?
Well, I haven't done much of those either, but I'm a victim advocate for victims of domestic abuse. I'm kind of transitioning also into sexual assault lately because of some of the stuff that I've discovered or the revelations I've had since I've become an atheist. But it's been mostly domestic abuse. And I really didn't get on TikTok to do any of that. I started on there just, to have fun. But I've come across a few videos that, I had some concerns about, so I've addressed them. But I'm actually still thinking about starting another channel dedicated solely to victim advocacy. That way, the people that want to see that kind of stuff can just go straight there. Maybe
Gotcha.
not.
Okay, so you were cruising along and you saw something that was victim advocate related, and you thought, I want to do that, or you saw something offensive and you thought you want to fight that? Is that I wouldn't clarify.
On TikTok, I saw something that was really disturbing. It was actually a licensed therapist putting out some really bad information about rape, and I couldn't let that go, so I addressed that. But I generally, lately, it's been a little more activism because of, Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. And I didn't want to not participate, and show my support. But it's generally, I'm there for entertainment. So, yeah, my victim advocacy is just what I do, offline. So I run a charity for victims who have already escaped and are starting over. So we kind of pick up where the other organizations leave off. So we give them clothing, housewares, things for their homes. There's a transitional pet care program that we're working on, so they don't have to worry about what to do with their pets while they're moving. There's going to be a wellness program, so there'll be, a healthy food pantry and some free trauma-informed yoga and a financial literacy program.
That's wonderful. Now, one of the things that I found was interesting is that your program dealing with abuse helps people with pets. There's a lot of people don't consider that. And
yeah, a lot of victims stay in those relationships because they don't know what to do with their pets and they don't want to leave them behind.
Right.
So I'm hoping to remove that obstacle.
Yes. Well, as we were coming up to this show and talking about the things and noticed how you help victims and their pets, I was talking to a lady who said that she had a dog that she had to give away. She was planning on leaving her husband, and she had to give that dog away because she knew the dog and the husband didn't get along well. She couldn't take the dog with her where she was going to get away. And so she gave it away.
Yeah, that's rough.
In order she lost her dog, before that thing. I love my dogs. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I lost a pet to domestic violence, so that's part of the reason why I went to this, because we didn't have. I tried to find her a home. She had separation anxiety, which was made worse by the abuse in the house, and I couldn't find anyone to take her. Because nobody wants pets with those issues, and the rescues couldn't take her for some reason. I don't remember. It was a while ago, but I remember one specifically, just they didn't have room for her, and the other places either didn't call me back. So, I had to make a really tough decision to send her to the city shelter, which is, they euthanize them there if you don't adopt them out. And I just kind of hoped that someone would come and take her, and they didn't. So that was really hard. And I don't want anyone to have to go through that, especially, kids are very attached to their pets, and for them to have to give them up or leave them behind, even, with the abuser is not, I don't want anyone to have to do that. So.
Of course.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to say thank you to Ian Davenport for the $5 Australian for the sticker. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I want to ask you about your atheism, if I can, Miss Lola.
Sure.
Were you always an atheist? How were you raised? When did you change? Well, let's start with how you were raised. I'll ask as we go.
I was raised Catholic, in a very traditional Hispanic Catholic family. Went to Catholic school from the 1st grade to the 9th grade. My parents weren't devout. I mean, they didn't go to church or anything like that. I think they put me in Catholic school because we lived in a pretty changing neighborhood. We lived in the projects in New York City, and it was getting bad. So most of the parents, if they could, they would put them through private school because the public schools were just awful. And then I ended up in public school in the 10th grade, which, it didn't go well. I dropped out. I stopped going to class, getting high with my friends, and and so then, I kind of transitioned from being Catholic to non-denominational to spiritual to agnostic to atheist. My atheism came about when I quit drinking, or the transition started, I would say, when I quit drinking. But I always
remember you mentioned that.
doubt. I'm sorry.
Whenever we were on the Tart show the other day, I think I remember you mentioning that the alcoholism, once you stop drinking alcohol.
Yeah, it kind of, you just can't deny the questions you have and the doubts that you have. About life in general, right? It's not just religion; it's everything that's going on. And for me, it was a really, I was in an abusive relationship, and my friends were they were all alcoholics, and we were it was a really toxic life that I was living, and so I moved away from that. I seem to remember the one moment we talked about this the last time, that specifically it was my ex who was tormenting me because I wanted to leave him, and he would show up at my house and leave nasty messages and things like that. But he had just left. I had to kick him out of my house, and afterwards I was just on the floor crying and begging God for help, and of course nothing happened, but never did.
Right.
But it was this particular time, usually when I would ask for help, there was a voice in my head responding, and it was mine. It wasn't obviously not his, but that voice was telling me all the stuff that I had been told, about why God didn't help me, my whole life. It was like, God, please help me. Why aren't you helping me? And the voice in my head would say, well, why would I? You need to help yourself in order for me to help you, that all that kind of talk. But this time there was no voice talking back to me. It's just, I remember that it was just like utter silence, and it was me. I think that was the beginning of my transition away from God, is that there really was no higher power there for me, because he never really was there. So
there's a lot. Go ahead, Art.
Sorry.
Hoss?
Lola, what when you kind of had that moment when you came to, it was like, okay, this God that I've prayed to and I've spent years praying to, and like you said, I've felt like I heard his voice. Didn't come to find out it was just us talking to ourselves. When you had that moment when that kind of that light bulb, I guess, went off, what were the feelings? What were the emotions that you had at that time?
Even then, when that happened and there was no voice, I think I was just in the thick of this trauma. I have PTSD, and back then it was PTSD at work. So I didn't quite accept that in that moment that he wasn't real. It was just kind of the step in that direction. And there were other people in my life that were atheists, and I didn't really pay much mind to them, but it made me think about them. I would talk to them over time, and I would kind of get their take on things, and they would tell me, well, that's not it's not that God abandoned you. It's just that, he's not there. There's no God. So
Nothing personal.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious about during your time, your dealings with alcohol and such. Did you consider the 12-step program, Alcoholics Anonymous, anytime?
I did, and I didn't feel right about it.
Okay.
So for me, it wasn't that I made the effort to quit. I just stopped drinking. I got sick of drinking. And I still had that idea that we've all been sold on, that we're always going to be addicts, and that I'm always going to be an alcoholic. And honestly, in retrospect, that is what kept me from quitting for the longest time, was this belief that I'm always going to be an alcoholic, and it's always going to be a struggle. And what kind of life is that? How am I going to do that? I don't know that I can do this. But I tried to I'm not a real group person, I don't really join clubs. Kind of the group thing for me it doesn't work for me. And I didn't want to go to meetings because I thought that was overwhelming. And to be around a bunch of other people that were addicts, I didn't think that would be healthy for me either. But I did find a couple of support groups online, and I probably shouldn't have been there because I know that my particular situation was rare, in that I could go to a bar and order a beer and take a sip and just hand it off to somebody else because I didn't want it anymore. But other people are like, you're crazy. Why are you doing that? That's just so bad for you. You're just tempting, your addiction. You're going to fall off the wagon. You're going to end up binging again, and you're gonna you're gonna be right back where you started. And people were getting angry with me because I would share with them how, well, I don't understand why I'm not having this problem. I'm hearing that I'm going to be an addict the rest of my life, but I'm seriously not having this issue. And they would get really angry. Really angry. So I stopped going, and I probably needed the support, but I didn't want to upset them. So I stopped participating. And, I learned later that it really is not the case, that we're not, some of us can recover. Some people can't, and I get that, but some of us can recover. And having to pull away from support groups because of that wasn't helpful to me. If I'm looking for help, I should be able to get help. But there was really nothing for someone like me at the time. And my presence in those circles was triggering them. It was making them really upset. So I kind of just dealt with it on my own. And it was really hard. It really was, because everyone around me, they were drinkers. And I stopped going out, and I stopped even communicating with them because I truly just didn't like them much unless I was drunk. So it was really isolating, and then of course, as my atheism kicked in, that just kind of made it even harder to really be alone throughout all of that and not have anyone to kind of work through it with you. So it was rough.
Well, I was going to ask how your family reacted to your atheism. Well, and to your drop in alcohol. That's it seems like from a religious family's perspective, that would be a win-loss, right?
Yeah. Well, my family, I love my family. So, but they're just not very good at stuff like this. When I was drinking, I really didn't have anyone telling me, hey, you need to stop this. They just kind of judged me mostly. The atheism, I was struggling a couple of years ago, and I talked to my mom and I told her what was going on. And, I told her that I was an atheist, and I could hear the sadness in her voice. She was concerned because at the same time I was severely depressed, and I didn't know what to do. and she sounded worried. She wasn't angry, or she didn't judge me or anything, but she said, you can always come back. I said, well, Ma, that doesn't really work like that. It's not for me anyway. So the few people that know have been cool. They don't judge me for it. They're sad for me mostly. But yeah, they don't really, they're not bothered too much by it. So we don't really talk about my thoughts on it. I mean, my younger sister, yeah, because I can pretty much talk to her about anything, but the others, not so much. I don't really get into it with them.
And I'm sure you said, but I forgot. How long has it been since you became an atheist and this has all kind of gone down?
I would say officially maybe 3 years.
Really?
It's pretty, I went from, my agnosticism was really, was the larger part of the transition. And I know now that it was just because it was a way of holding on. But finally letting go was rough. It's like, okay, it's not, we talk about how atheism is not knowing there's no God, but there's no reason to believe it. And it's just as impactful to accept that there's no God as there is to accept any other fact, right? This isn't true, or this isn't real. But the impact with not having a God is, it's really hard, because it's your identity. For a lot of us, it's my identity. I was a Catholic, or I was a Christian, and God was everything. And so it changes your entire reality.
Yeah, Lola, I often compare it to, especially when you grew up like you and I did, where that's all you knew, and it really is, when you look in the mirror, just part of your emotional and psychological identity. I compared my process to an ugly breakup, and the fact that this is all I've known, and now I have to kind of reinvent myself, and who is this guy, without all this extra baggage, and like you said, that's a rough process. I mean, as much as you get a flood of some of the cool emotions of okay, now I'm free of all the expectations and the criticism if I do this or don't do that. There's the part when you're alone, when nobody else is around, that it is lonely, and it can be very depressing, and those kind of things, until you figure out who the new you is, within atheism or skepticism. Would you agree with that? That's what I found.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. That's at least how it was for me. Yeah, totally.
Got it.
I remember in my switch from being a theist to an atheist or a Christian, because I thought about a lot of those things. But then there was also a lot of the thoughts that were like, beforehand I used to think about heaven and hell, and now I've got to reconcile the fact that there's neither. And that those thoughts, there's just nothing, and then there's, like you're talking about, the loneliness and being alone. That can be freeing and fearful at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm one of those for me, it was a little freeing. I always thought it was weird that the way the Christians would talk about how Jesus watches you all the time about everything you do and condemns you and judges you, like somebody who's following you around, really, all the time.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of, it didn't work well for me. And this notion that God is all powerful and all this stuff, but Satan seems to be everywhere. He seems to be as powerful as God. He can whisper in your ear and you fall just like that. But all these different signs from God, and yet you have to be lured like a fish. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. So that was freeing whenever all that fell away.
How long has it been for you guys?
Us?
Yeah.
Mine's right around that. Approaching that 3-year mark too, so we're in this thing together.
Do you want to give her a little rundown on how long you've been and I know how long you've been, 3 years-ish, but where you were and how long you were?
Oh yeah, my earliest memories as a boy was either church or a baseball diamond. That's really all I remember. It was one or the other. So grew up in it. My mom was a praise and worship pastor. My brother's still a pastor to this day. So all like literally all I know. So
Yeah.
you go through my teenage years. When I was 14, 15, something like that, my parents divorced. And at that time, I went on about a 10-year run where, I really struggled with drug addictions, and I was, selling and doing all that. And 21 years old, 22, I was in a nearly fatal car accident from drinking and driving. They had to resuscitate me 2 or 3 times, and they showed up. My friends and family showed up to the ICU unit, praying and, doing all that. And when I finally gained consciousness, I said, well, you must have a purpose because God saved you. He spared your life. There must be a purpose. And I was like, well, shit, maybe they're right. I don't know. And but I dove in for the next, I would say then another, 8 to 10 years. I went, I dove in both feet and ended up serving as part of the leadership at my brother's church. My ex-wife and I oversaw small groups. We were part of youth leadership. I played drums almost every single Sunday. And any time we went out and did any type of outreach, ministries in the inner cities, stuff like that, I was always the one that was asked to speak and share my story and, do all that. So I was in it, and, and then about 3 years ago, everything started to kind of fall apart regarding that. And I was in a church service, and it was actually a Sunday, one of the very rare ones that I had no responsibilities. I didn't have to play drums. I didn't, so I wasn't distracted by everything. I had nothing to do, and I started listening to the words of the songs that I played drums to every Sunday. And I'm like, because I didn't ever really pay attention to the words. It was, 2s and 4s. All I'm worried about 2s and 4s. And I started listening to songs, and I'm like, these are borderline creepy. Like, what is going on right now? Then, my brother, the pastor, he started to, go into the message, and some of the things even he was saying, I love him to death. We have a great relationship, but some of the stuff he was teaching, all of a sudden I'm going to other scriptures that I know, because I know the Bible. I'm like, hold on, that don't make sense. That's not what that means. And then it hit me in the middle of that church service. I was like, you know what? I have never actually sat down and read this book like I would if I went and read it from a library, like, any other book. So that day I went home with my Bible and started at Genesis and started reading it as if I'd never read the book, never heard of the book.
That'll do it.
To the best you can. You have to really focus on not doing that. And I couldn't even, I told Chris one of the first times we spoke, I couldn't even get through Genesis with a straight face. It was like, oh my God, we have talking snakes and all, all this. And my whole world started to quote unquote crumble, regarding God and religion and faith.
Wow.
Yeah. That's him. Yeah. Mine, I just don't, I wasn't properly indoctrinated. When I was a kid, my parents were loosely Christian. They were sort of loosely Christian. My dad was always loosely Christian. He very rarely went to church, and he didn't like churches because he felt you had to dress up proper like and go to church. So church didn't respect you unless you had the money to dress up proper like, and he didn't care for that. He also felt you didn't have to go to church to talk to Jesus and all this stuff. So those kind of things. But so there wasn't a lot of indoctrination. My mother was a Christian, but she was kind of a loose Christian. Then she got into like science fiction. She was really into Star Trek and the original series and Kirk and stuff like that. And then the older she got, the further away from religion she became. And then, for her funeral, we didn't have any service at all. She did not want a service. She wanted a barbecue. So we had a barbecue and did all that stuff. There was no preacher. There was nothing, because she had gone completely away from the faith. I just never really got properly indoctrinated. Then, I was watching TV one day, I guess it was Jerry Falwell died, and they were going to have Chris Hitchens on the show to talk about Jerry Falwell. And they're like, this prominent atheist is going to be shot. I was like, a what? An atheist? And he's really going to talk about that? Oh, that poor man and his soul, Oh, and then I watched him talk, and he's talking about Jerry Falwell, and he's like, this man was just horrible. And he talks about how people who talk like him should be on street corners selling pencils from a cup. And I was like, oh, I found my spirit animal, Love me some Chris Hitchens. So I went diving in, and that was like, I don't know, there was lots of chinks in the armor up to that point, but that was really the catalyst. I remember, like you, Oz, I was sitting in church one day. I had a girlfriend, and like to be in good with her, she wanted to go to church. So you had to go to church. And I was sitting, and I'm reading the Bible, and they're talking about it up there. she's got her Bible, and I'm reading my Bible. I guess I borrowed some old lady's Bible. I don't know. And in the Bible I'm reading, it's like they went into the city and they murdered all the men, women, and children and clubbed them like baby harp seals. And I looked over at her version. It was like they went into the city and subdued it. And then they moved on. I was like, wait. Well, this is the inerrant word of God. How can you just change it like that? You know, and then that was, there were chinks.
Well, what would you say are the best thing? What's the best thing or the best things that came out of your becoming an atheist?
Ooh. Oz, I'm going to let you go first.
Well, I love that question. I'm going to start using that. But I would say that the easiest one for me first is I've always been one that supports authenticity in all of us as individuals. And when I was a Christian, and especially when I was active in the faith, I never felt like I could be Austin. I never felt like I could be me, the authentic version. I had to live in this fishbowl where all eyes were on me. They were watching every move, every word that came out of my mouth. And when that switch went off for me, and I was like, you know what, I'm an atheist. Like, I remember that moment. One of the first things was like, I don't have to give two flips no more. I don't have to give any flips what anybody thinks anymore, and that eyeballs are on me or they're not, it doesn't matter. I can just be Austin and be me. And just that liberation from all the guilt and, judgment and all that was fantastic. And I felt like finally I could start to do the things I was passionate about and do the activities I was passionate about without it having to be orchestrated by a religion or a church or, oh, you probably shouldn't do it this way. Maybe you should do it that way. So now I can do all the things that I love to do and not have to worry about the critique, the Christian critique is what I call it.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I have to be honest, it makes it, not being a Christian makes it easier to worship the devil and being in league with Lucifer. And, before there was so many berries between me and the dark one. And now he's just a phone call away. All I got to do is start rubbing a nipple and you know what? Boom.
Oh, and we get to eat babies now.
And we get to be babies, right? I want my baby back. Okay. But in seriousness or semi-seriousness, I found a cause. I'd left atheism. What happened for me was the reason why I went the direction I went was because I had a friend who used to be an atheist. He's one of those Christians who are mad at God. And so they're like, I'm mad at you, God. I'm going to be an atheist until you give me what I want. Mm-hmm. And then me and a buddy of mine were like, you know what? What we used Pascal's wager on him. We brought him back to the light. And now he's a Christian again. And we went on. Of course, we also turned on his electricity and did a few other things that kind of showed him the light. Anyway, so I moved back down to Texas for a few years. Then I started coming back to here, Albuquerque, and hanging out with my buddies. But that buddy couldn't hang out with me on the weekends because in the evenings, he'd from like 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning hang out downtown Albuquerque, outside the bars, holding signs with his church mates saying, talk to me about Jesus. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? The power that I have, I never knew. Anyway, so I kind of made it my choice right then to, actually that night I went up there and I sat with him. I was thinking I was going to talk to him and kind of bring him to the light. And actually what ended up happening is I ended up talking to all his friends that were there and debating and defending atheism as if I was some kind of atheist activist. At the time, I was just a non-believer. That was it. And he's like, well, what do you think about them in God we trust on money? Why can't we have that? And I'm like, well, I don't care what you, but when you stop and think about it, it's because of this and this and this. And like, that, and this, so, and then one nation under God in schools. I'm like, well, what do I care? Well, wait a second. No, I would care if I had a kid going to school, I wouldn't want that forced on me. I wouldn't want one nation under Allah forced on your kids, kind of thing. And this is the conversation I'm having with all his people, impromptu. Now it's a little different. I've seen all the Chris Hitchens and been down the road and it's just different, but that's what took me all the way to being an actual atheist or an activist, was trying to save my friend. He's still a Christian. Yeah. We don't talk about it.
Are your relationships though, like with Christians, are you able to have I mean, obviously your friend, you've known him for a while, but when you meet new Christians, are you able to have deep, meaningful relationships with them, or does that kind of get in the way for you? Does it put a barrier up between you where you feel like you can't really go that far with them?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just view the world differently. And you?
Yeah.
Is that?
I mean, I have friends that are Muslim and, you know, of all faiths, and I adore them, and I understand why they believe. I went through a phase where I was really angry, you know, where I think a lot of us go through that, where I felt like I just wanted to save them, right? But now I have compassion. You know, now I feel like, yeah, I get it, because they didn't really have a say in their faith. You know, they were indoctrinated when they were very young and malleable. They didn't, it is their reality. It's not, it would be traumatic for them as it was for me to pull them out of it. So you know, they know that I'm atheist, and they know that I respect them, and they know that I don't respect their beliefs, but I respect that they have them, you know. So I have healthy relationships with them, but there's still areas where I feel like I'm not connecting, which is sad, you know, because I feel like I could have deeper relationships with them if it weren't for that. But I can't be fully, you know, I can't be fully authentic with them, as you were saying, Oz, because I don't want to offend them. But
yes,
you know, I'm thankful for what I do have with them. They're wonderful people. So yeah, but it's rough. You know, you kind of, everything, it changes everything. It changes your view on everything. Everything is like, I feel like autism has, I say it's Sheldoned me. If you watch The Big Bang Theory, I feel like I've become that person, you know, that everything is, I'm very analytical about most things now. And even relationships are romantic relationships are different for me too. So,
oh, absolutely. Huh.
Like love is nothing more than pair bonding.
Well, there's that.
One episode.
I wasn't thinking about that.
Well, you know, like the monogamy thing is very, it's very alien to me now. So, you know, I mean, I get that people bond and they want to be together and they only want to be with one person. I get that. But the whole forced monogamy thing, it just doesn't make sense to me anymore. So, so relationships are different.
Well, so with me, whenever I'm glad you mentioned that, because I remember I was dating, and I'm going to use, I don't really know the terms. It's been so long. I think swipe left is bad. If you don't like them, you swipe left, swipe. All right. So I would search their profiles specifically for their faith to see how religious they were, if they were religious, and that would be an instant swipe left. You know, if you see their face and they've got a picture of their home and they're just beautiful sitting there with their, you know, sometimes they put skimpy stuff on. It's like, girl, you know, but looking on the back of the wall, there's 15 crosses mounted on the wall behind her. Warning, red alert. Anyway, so there was that. I used to, as I was dating, I really had to, I would watch for that. And then of course there's the same thing. I can just imagine, I can just imagine that when I send a message, you know, hey baby, how you doing? You know, they get that message from me because that's what it's a dating app. That's what you do. And they're like, oh, let's go look at his thing. Oh, an atheist. Oh, he's making jokes about eating cats and getting whiskers stuck in his teeth. Ooh, that's bad. I can see it from both sides. All.
Yeah, dating was interesting for me too. I did some online dating for a while, and it was, you know, if they were Christian, I wouldn't date. I mean, it's one thing to be friends with a Christian. It's another to be in a romantic relationship with them. You know, you don't have to go home if you're eventually looking for marriage or just, you know, a lifetime with this person. You definitely don't want to do that if you're an atheist. Well, to me anyway. But it was interesting. I've had a few people, you know, when I tell them I'm an atheist, they get mad and they call me a judgmental and why won't you date me because I'm a Christian? You're just being so judgy. I'm like, well, because I can't relate to that. So why are you taking it? Don't take it so personally. I mean, they would get rabid. They would get really, really angry. And but it's not something that I can do long term with a romantic partner. So,
well, you know, there's a meme on the internet that says, "Hey, show men dating," and somebody responds with like, "Hey, beautiful, how are you doing? What? You're not responding to me? Hey, here's a picture of my dinky. What? You're not talking to me? Hey, you stupid bee!" You know, and that's I'm like,
I've got a lot of those.
That's just
too.
That's just without criticizing their faith.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
I can just imagine.
One guy, like, he yelled at me. I mean, he got really nasty, and he's like, "I don't understand you people." Like,
Girls?
You know, yeah. What was it? And then because he saw that I was a victim advocate, and he says, I don't get it. How do you manage to worship Satan and do good things or something like that?
Oh, God.
Yeah. So,
one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We had a show just about all of that just the other day. I had an experience whenever I told this lady, whenever I first came out as an atheist, I was talking to this lady. I think I was over working on her computer when I very first started my tiny, tiny little computer business. Anyway, I was working on, and when I told her I was an atheist, she literally stepped back and crossed herself.
Oh my God.
Thankfully, she did that because that protected her from me. I immediately felt that boundary around her. I couldn't get near her. I felt the spirit of Satan trying to flee from me, so I had to run away immediately. Yeah, so I mean, the rest was hyperbole, but of course, yes, it was true. Somebody did actually do that with me. There's such a misunderstanding.
I had a friend tell me once, when I was in one of my really sad moments, I had a friend once tell me that people are more open about their anti-atheism, about their bigotry with atheists than they are about their racism. And I really didn't understand
I don't get that.
But I've started to notice it, actually. I mean, you know, they will flat out call you Satan or evil or the devil, or, you know, discriminate against you. Like, I don't think I will ever put out the name of my charity on any of these podcasts, because I'm worried about atheists turning away from it because of the fact that I'm an atheist running it. So yeah, I've experienced it, but yeah, I mean, I think there's something to that. I really do, because even racists don't flat out say they're racist, but they'll flat out, you know, call you evil and wish you death and all of those things for being an atheist. So,
and they don't have a lot of problem, but you know, and this is something I love talking about. I love railing on this one, because we're the bad guys. You're the bad guy for being an atheist, right? You're the monster. I'm the monster for being atheist. And yet it's religious people have murdered, have killed people by the thousands, tens of thousands, in horribly excruciating ways for thousands of years now. And we're speaking out against that, and we're the bad guys. So we're speaking out against their oppression, and they're, oh, you've offended me. Stop offending me. How can I oppress people when you're offending me? And then, you know, you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to stop offending you now. And like, okay. And then they start, damn gays, damn trans people, damn, you know, am I wrong? I'm not wrong.
Yep.
That's exactly what happens. We're the bad guys when we are the voices that stand up against the things they do and point out the lunacy that they do. Right now, there's a war going on, a war against science by the religious people in this country, and it's literally costing lives. Literally. Right. I mean, there's no boom, but there's no difference, or little difference, between what happened back in the Middle East whenever they were having imams calling for people to rise up and go kill the infidels or whatever. It's almost no difference. It's the same thing. Here in our deals, whenever they're saying, don't wear a mask, God will protect you, come in here, come in here and join with us. Now go home to grandma, go love on grandma and grandpa. And that's this close to murder. How is that not murder when we've told them, we've warned them, the science has said so. You know, and yet, you know, here we are. It's every day you see it. We get news articles about this church over here holding a mass. Mass is good. Holding services. This church over here holding services. These people over here talking about don't wear masks. It happens all the time. Still happening. And then they get all the cooties. They're all getting the cooties.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they get the cooties.
It's amazing that, you know, if you just look at the raw statistics, was it between 52 and 54% of our population here in our country are, a Christian of some fashion. There's so many brands. I can't keep track, but of some form of fashion. But yet, when the small 2 to 4% or whatever it is of the atheist population speak out, it's now all of a sudden they're persecuted. You're persecuted. You get your way in everything. Yeah. Like you have law. Yeah. You have
they're certain the dominant culture. Yeah, I mean they dominate everything pretty much. I mean, it's just
how is it that we are a threat to you when you have millions and billions of people that believe the way you do and operate the way you do, and we're just challenging at our 2 to 4%. I've never understood that victim mentality that Christianity has, at least in our country. I don't know what it's like abroad, but here in our country, they're so quick to play that victim card when it's like you literally have laws that help you.
Right. Yeah. Well, our oppression of them is actually, in many cases, our oppression of them is actually us stopping their oppression of others.
Correct.
In many cases, if we want to talk about like doing things in school, one of the examples that comes to mind is like the coach who's a Christian and he runs a little Christian thing and we all hold a little Christian prayer before the game and stuff like that. And we oppress them if we make them stop. Yeah, they don't really focus on the fact that if you're not a little Christian kid over there praying with them before the game, you don't get to play as many plays as the other kids do. If you get to play at all. I mean, this really happens. That's them oppressing people. If we stop it, who's the bad guys?
Yep.
I like doing that. Well, who's the bad guys? Oh wait, I have your sound. So,
and if we're gonna do that, if Coach Christian wants to have a prayer, then we need to make sure that Coach Islam and Coach Buddhism and Coach so on and so forth, that they get a chance to say their prayers as well. Because I'm a First Amendment guy. You can have all your freedoms you want, but make sure everybody else gets their freedoms as well. And then at the end, I'm going to pray to Satan that all of us burn in hell. No, I'm kidding.
Because that's what we do.
There's a woman here in my county. She's the county commissioner, and she uses her official Facebook page practically as a pulpit, and she preaches about God and praying to God and keeping God close. When it comes to the numbers for the pandemic, for the virus, and whenever she posts the numbers for the county, she starts talking about God and all this other stuff. And one of my atheist friends actually addressed that with her and said, hey, you do understand that there are other people in this county besides Christians. Why are you alienating them? And she won't stop. She keeps going, and she just kind of like, thank you for your comment. It's very snarky. She's not saying, hey, I'm sorry that I kind of kicked you out of the group here. Right. That I'm not including you. She's just really arrogant about it. But I live in Texas, like, the butt crack of America. So this
of course, been there, born there.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to take a moment and say thank you to Christian, an atheist named Christian, the Blazing Wizard Pope, for his 14 Danish krones of support to the channel. Thank you very much for that. He's got a salt shaker. Says Super Chris is getting salty.
That's so cool.
I'm just dropping truth. I'm just get angry. That's what makes me angry when we're vilified, but they're the ones that murder, death, kill people. Yeah. Was there an atheist Spanish Inquisition? No. Were there any atheists raids of the homeland? No. I mean, I'm just saying, we're the bad guys. We're the bad guys. Don't make me push the button. I will.
Chris, you read all of that out of context. You read all of that out of context.
I did. That's what I do. That's what we do. We're atheists. Thank you, Ian Davenport, for the $4 Australian of support for the cup of coffee. I appreciate that. What were you going to say, Oz?
If I could, real quick, because I know we're headed to the end of the show here, but going back to the dating, when you go from Christianity to atheism, all that, T and I, my fiance, one of my favorite things when I run into somebody or I see somebody I haven't saw in a while, and I tell them that T and I are engaged, and the person I'm talking to is somebody that I formerly, either was in leadership at church or was a friend through church or whatever. So they're, still very much in their, have their heels dug in their faith and like, oh, that's it. Because my divorce from my ex-wife was very, very ugly, and a long process. And like, oh, it's so good that you found somebody that you're best friends with and you guys get along so well. God knew exactly what he's doing. Make sure your paths crossed. Where did you guys meet? How'd you guys meet? And I was like, "What do you want to know the real story, or do you want me to tell you a cute Jesus version of it?" And they're like, "Well, no. Where'd you guys meet? How'd you meet?" I said, "I met her at a swinger club."
Right.
And they're like,
I was humming through my ball gag when she came around the corner.
And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, well, maybe God didn't mean for you guys to meet at all."
Yeah. Well, we met her dancing around a pentagram. What's that, Miss Lola?
I said, "Bow, chicka, bow, wow."
Yeah.
That's right. Brown chicken, brown cow. Good stuff. I'm from Texas, right? Yeah. I think what I need to do. I've got Ethan Micheal on the show. Ethan does a dating. Are you familiar with Ethan Micheal, Miss Lola?
I'm not.
You're not. You might want to get on one of his shows. He's got a couple of great shows. He's got a channel with several great programs that he runs, but he also has one that's kind of focuses on dating. He's an atheist, and I don't know if they really talk about but maybe I need to have a show just to get, because he's my Wednesday co-host. Will be Ethan. And maybe what I need to do is get with him and do a show just on dating outside of our non-faith. Because I'm married to a Christian.
Yeah.
How's that work out? That I met on a dating app. So somewhere along the way, I had to have gone on that dating app. Oh, Christian, but damn, she hot. Somewhere along the way, that had to happen. I ain't proud. I'll tell her. That's true. So, all right, guys. Oz, do you want to go ahead and tell us about anything you have going up? Any shows you got going on this week or something you want to chill out before we head off?
No, not this time. Just Lola, thanks for being on. I always love being on this show, and everybody have a good week. Be a bunch of rock stars.
It's good to see you.
Awesome. And you, Miss Lola, do you have any more appearances going on this week, or do you have anything you'd like to chill out? I put links to your stuff below, your TikTok, and including several of your videos. Oh, can before we go, can I run your TikTok again to show we got twice as many people watching now? Okay, guys, yeah. I want to run her TikTok. This is awesome. Here we go. Check this out, Miss Lola Ray on TikTok.
Oh my God, Jesus! Do you like it?
Sometimes you can choose to not be a dick. Yes, thank you.
I can't take it off. I can't take it off. Like, take it off. I can't. Take it off. I can't take it off. Like, take it off. I can't.
That's Miss Lola Ray over on TikTok. Go follow her, like her, do whatever you do on TikTok. I don't know. I don't have TikTok yet. I'm still resisting. That was my favorite part of the whole thing. I love that. All right, guys, we are off to save the world. I want to thank you guys for joining me again. I want to thank everybody in the damnation in the chat there for joining me, and for all the people on Facebook, the live stream. You guys are all wonderful. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching the show. A special shout out to my gold level Patreon supporters, the Blazing Wizard Pope, Ian Davenport, Cindy PLAZA, and tons of mice. Thank you, and have a great day.